This is a grudge match between two former stablemates of the Kronk Gym, Duane Thomas and David Braxton. Both fighters are undefeated here. Thomas is 20 years old and has a record of 11-0, while Braxton is 26 years old with a record of 12-0. Both fighters have all-star teams in their corners. Thomas has Emmanuel Stewart and Bill Miller, while Braxton has Luther Burgess and I think a trainer named Dave Collins. This fight is for the Michigan State Junior Middleweight title, and it's intriguing because it was a rarity even back in the 80s for two undefeated fighters to risk their O so early in their careers. Both of these fighters are among the best in the junior middleweight division in the 1980s, although neither one of them received a lot of exposure, particularly Braxton. Unfortunately, the footage breaks off in the 10th round, and we lose the final minute or so, but by that time you should have an idea of who won the fight, and nothing really significant happens in that final minute.
And Thomas's weight is 3 pounds over the junior middleweight limit, which is 154 pounds. So a battle of two rival gyms as well as two ranking Michigan junior middleweights. Braxton on your right in the black trunks. Thomas now on your right as the fighters circle.
Thomas, and we are into round two.
Braxton showing him a lot of movement. Thomas content to wait until Braxton slows down and gives him a more stationary target. We'll see if Braxton keeps the constant circling up in round two.
Hook lands high on the head of Dave Braxton. I don't believe any damage was done.
He was moving away from it, but it is Thomas' most effective punch of the fight.
Duane Thomas a little bit more aggressive here in the early going of round two. Duane Thomas trying to counter over the top of Braxton's left jab with the right hand. He has had some success, but neither punch has landed very well. Braxton hits Thomas in the midsection with a couple of blows, and Duane shakes his head. It didn't hurt. And now Braxton decides he'll talk back to Thomas. They're both talking to each other now.
You can sense the rivalry, Jim, as the Michigan Junior Middleweight title is on the line, currently held by David Braxton.
And right now they're doing more talking to each other than they are punching.
Braxton still showing that movement, side to side, and then eventually circling to his left. Pretty tough target to hit. He is sweating much more profusely than Thomas at this point, as evidenced by his greater movement.
A couple of left hooks there, and both of them were caught on gloves.
Braxton showboating a little bit, keeping the guard down.
15 seconds left in this, the second round, and we will go to the corner of Duane Thomas and listen to what Emmanuel Stewart has to say to Duane and find out what kind of strategy they will get going here for round three. As round two is over, and I don't know, whoa, there we have a little bit of action as Dave Braxton talks to Duane Thomas as they go to the corner. And now let's go to the corner and see what Emmanuel Stewart has to say.
Don't worry about all that talking. Don't be leading it. Try to catch the jab off and break off because his left leg is staying in the same spot. He's doing all this work and his right leg like that. That's why he's off. Kick and then step right over, right under.
So Duane Thomas does not use the benefit of the chair when he goes to his corner at the end of round two. Emmanuel Stewart telling him to pick that jab and follow it over the top with the right hand.
Also telling him, Jim, to pick up the action. Don't give Braxton so much time to move and keep his guard down and control the fight. He wants Duane to get busier this round.
This is round three of a scheduled 10-round Michigan Junior Middleweight Championship fight. Eli Zarrett and Jim Brandstad are here at Cobo Arena, bringing you on TV Kronk boxing fights. And a good one here, as Dave Braxton and Duane Thomas are battling for a Michigan championship.
Both fighters pacing themselves the first couple of rounds. I think you can expect the intensity to grow, as it appears to be here in round 3. Thomas a little busier, as Emmanuel told him to be. Braxton, so still giving him a lot of movement, pretty hard target to hit. As we say so many times, Jim, a little Muhammad Ali in every fighter. Braxton certainly mimics some of the great champions' moves.
2 minutes left in round 3. Thomas with a couple of wild left hands. Now they go to the body and mix it up in the middle of the ring, but it doesn't appear that any damage has been done by any of those punches to Duane Thomas, as he just wades on in.
Braxton connecting with some jabs. Still throwing more punches and landing more than Duane Thomas. Braxton very, very confident.
Thomas appears a bit more awkward, too, when he rounds in to throw the punches. He doesn't have the good hand speed that Braxton has. Thomas followed a left jab up with a left hook. Caught him on the side of the head. Not much damage, though, done to Braxton.
Braxton good at doubling up on the jab. Throws a couple of them at a time. Left hook by Braxton graces the side of Thomas's head, off balance.
There's a left jab, and Braxton is upset that he was actually pushed down. And Tommy Briscoe gets between the fighters. Now he gets them back together and they'll box. That was not a knockdown, more of a push than anything by Duane Thomas. Left hook to the midsection by Duane Thomas. Another left hand to the liver. Another one. He's going downstairs now. And Braxton moves out into the center of the ring and he starts throwing leather. But Duane Thomas has been throwing some left hooks, and they're getting a little bit closer to Dave Braxton. That is the end of round 3. Both fighters go to their corners. Braxton has a word on his way to Duane Thomas, and I tell you, it doesn't appear that there's any love lost between the two, Eli.
Not at all. This will be a very difficult pace for them to keep up for the full 10 rounds. Take a look at some of the action near the end of the round. Braxton leaning back on the ropes, and Thomas connecting with one of those left to the guts, missing wildly there, as does Braxton, grazing it right over the top of his head. Left kept by Braxton way down at his side, and he scores with the jab, follows with the right cross. As Thomas misses, he landed some punches earlier in the round. Pretty good action in round 3. They definitely picked the pace up. Fight escalating in action as we go around and approach round 4.
Early in the round, working the left jab. Thomas leads with the right hand, comes up with a left hook, and he got in close, then tried to follow over the left jab of Braxton and hit him on the top of the head. Not too much damage done, though. Fighters about throwing punches on the break after a clinch.
I'd say on the basis of what I've seen, Thomas is the harder puncher, although he has not really tagged Braxton yet. Getting a little sloppy here as they flurry above us.
Action along the ropes between Duane Thomas and Dave Braxton. Braxton in the black trunks with the white stripes. On your right is the current Michigan Junior Middleweight champion. And Duane Thomas, who has Braxton on the ropes, now they'll turn it around, is the challenger. And over the top comes Thomas with a left hook that seemed to stun Braxton for a moment. Thomas just waiting to get a good shot.
Good right. Couple of them by Braxton. Another left by Braxton. He tags him with an uppercut and another left.
And looks like Duane Thomas is hurt, as Braxton has been laying some heavy punches that have connected.
Thomas briefly back with a combination. Braxton getting the better of him in the last minute of round 4.
15 seconds left to go. Eli, round 4. Working to the body and a left hook, and there's a little bit of swinging after the bell, but I don't believe either fighter could hear it.
Must system per round, however, it isn't round by round scoring as it is in other states. Round 5. Has kept the steady movement up through all 5 rounds, on his toes, constantly moving. Thomas very aggressive in round 5 after absorbing a lot of punishment in round 4. Good continuous action, 2 well-conditioned fighters.
Good left-right combination. There's a cut over the eye now of Dave Braxton. A cut over the right eye of Dave Braxton.
Might have come when the 2 heads met earlier in this round.
A wild, wild right hand by Duane Thomas, following up with a big jab, and he might have Dave Braxton in trouble.
Pressuring him, a good right to the belly by Duane Thomas, another right to the jaw.
Great right hand over the top of the jab, and Duane Thomas smells that he has Dave Braxton in trouble, and he would like to get that junior middleweight title in Michigan.
And that cut could become a factor, Jim. It has definitely opened up since the beginning of the round when it was created. Briscoe taking a look at it there.
A big left hook from Duane Thomas. Dave Braxton hanging in there. 1 minute left, round 5. A right hand, a left hand. A wild right and a wild left, but Braxton is rubbery. Oh, Braxton lands a heavy right hand out of nowhere, and Duane Thomas goes down. The count is at 5.
It's a very slow count. 8.
He is up at the count of 8. Now Tommy Briscoe puts Duane Thomas back to the neutral corner. He will now wipe the gloves off, and now they go back to fighting. The right hand came while everybody thought Braxton was in trouble, and it landed flush on the jaw of Duane Thomas, and he went down. Now Briscoe trying to get between him and stop this from being a real brawl, but both fighters throwing a lot of leather. Braxton seemingly holding on, and then he lands the big punch, and that is the end of round 5, but they don't want to stop, and Briscoe has to separate them, and they go back to their corners. Eli, we have got to fight.
Great comeback in that round by Dave Braxton, and Briscoe certainly helped Thomas out, giving him 3 or 4 extra seconds when he kept Braxton away as he wanted to charge over there after the 8 count. A good decision by Briscoe, and it hurt Braxton to try and get back into the battle too soon and gave Thomas a little more time to recover.
Let's take a look at the action there that led to the knockdown. Duane Thomas had really the better of the 2. He was nailing Braxton, and it looked like Braxton was in trouble, and then he threw the big right hand.
Walked right into it.
And you can see that at that point, it probably lifted Braxton's spirits because he was tired, and when he nailed him, Braxton got a little bit of a high going.
Very stunning turnaround. Thomas opened the cut up in the beginning of the round, opened it up further as the round went on, was landing the majority of the punches, and then Braxton came back with the straight right. Here we are in round 6.
And let me tell you what, Duane Thomas, although he was down in the 5th round, is out of the corner first and really looking to push the action to Dave Braxton.
Same thing he did the round before, Jim, after taking punishment in round 4, charged out in round 5.
It appears as though the cut man in the corner of Dave Braxton has done a good job in closing the cut over the right eye. We don't see any blood here in the early going of round 6, where it was bleeding quite a bit in round 5. A good left hook by Thomas, followed it up. They're in close, right above us now.
And Thomas is getting to him.
Thomas working over Dave Braxton, but Braxton will not fall. Thomas has now lost his mouth guard. This is a war, Eli. Another big left hand uppercut, and then a straight left hand by Thomas. Connected well.
Both fighters getting tired at this point, Jim. As you'd expect.
A big left hook, again, another left. and Braxton is rubbering.
Got to admire Thomas's condition, Jim. He keeps on coming back.
Now there's a cut. It appears over the bridge of the nose of Dave Braxton. Duane Thomas just pushing Dave Braxton into the ropes. Oh, and he throws a heavy right hand on the break that connects right on the button. But Dave Braxton doesn't seem to be bothered too much. Back on his toes a bit, dancing. There's a cut now over the bridge of Dave Braxton's nose. Earlier in the fight, there was a cut over his right eye. 30 seconds left in round 6. Braxton looks at this point a little bit more tired than Thomas.
Definitely. Thomas weary, but he continues to punch. He's an aggressive fighter, constantly moving forward.
Big right uppercut from Duane Thomas as they're in a clinch. That is the end of round 6. Both fighters talking to each other in the corner, exchanging pleasantries. And I'll tell you, the crowd here at Cobo Arena is really delighted with this fight. It has been a good fight, a lot of action, both fighters very game.
And back and forth, too.
You're walking around with some money in your pocket. Take this fight over. Let this guy get away.
Don't let him get away, baby. Keep digging him in the dead end.
Almost 250 for me. 250 extra. You got to do it. That's what it is. Stay let me down. Making the man back up. He's not going to back up. Punch it.
Well, the idea was, let's go home with some money in our pocket. And Duane Thomas comes out of his corner to begin round 7 against Dave Braxton.
And Emmanuel telling him, of course, to keep the pressure on.
Oh, a big right hand from Braxton. A good left-right combination with a right hand landed. But Duane Thomas sure can take the punch because it landed flush. Thomas didn't even flinch, just kept coming. Good left-right by Braxton. And another left hook that landed.
You can see Braxton's punches are a little crisper at this point. Duane may be a little arm weary here in the 7th round, in the final minute of the 7th round.
Left hook, both of them hit it. I think Thomas's did more damage. 15 seconds left to go in round 7. Duane Thomas and Dave Braxton and Duane Thomas are just standing in there toe-to-toe, punching it out. And there's a couple punches after the bell, and a little punch from Braxton, and they have to separate the two after the bell.
Thomas is the more tired fighter at this point, I feel, Jim. And the 7th round was not one of his better ones. Work, box, Emmanuel says. You're waiting too much. Let's see if Duane Thomas follows instructions and gets busy here in round 9. Now Thomas getting a little desperate, throwing a lot of punches, but catching a few on the way in. And Braxton matching him.
Duane obviously came out of the corner knowing that Emmanuel Stewart was a bit upset with him, that he wasn't punching, he wasn't moving, he wasn't really taking the fight to Braxton. And Duane looks very tired at this point.
He's just not reacting. He's not throwing punches spontaneously like he was earlier. And Braxton is cleaning him up.
Braxton has hurt him, and he has Duane Thomas hurt. He has gone to the body. A left-right combination has hurt Thomas. And now Dave Braxton looks to the kill. He has landed some punches. Duane Thomas cannot throw any back. He's just standing there waiting to be hit. Tommy Briscoe steps in, and he tells him to move to the corner. This will be a standing 8 count.
Braxton better get into his corner, or Briscoe will not continue the count.
Braxton had him hurt, and now Thomas is coming back.
Thomas is going to have to slow him down.
To throw the big punches. Braxton landing punches at will now. Braxton all over the top of Duane Thomas. Both fighters weary. Tommy Briscoe breaks them. Duane Thomas looking to throw anything just to slow Braxton down. 1 minute left to go, round 9. It's scheduled to go 10, but I don't know whether it will. A heavy right hand by Duane Thomas, but that's about all he has left. And Braxton comes right back.
Thomas is at the point when he throws punches, he has to rest, and then Braxton, who is fresher at this point, comes back on him.
Duane Thomas, arm weary. At this point, a punching bag for Dave Braxton. Tommy Briscoe steps in between them and says, fight again. Duane Thomas comes right back.
Very game, Duane Thomas.
And he has the leg to left to right. And now Braxton is in trouble.
But does Thomas have the strength to follow it up?
15 seconds left to go, round 9. And Duane Thomas puts on a flurry.
A great comeback by Thomas here at the end of round 9. Thomas with a puffed up lip and gasping for air. And he hits him again after the bell, and they're still fighting.
That is the end of round 9, and there were a couple punches thrown after the bell. And Dave Braxton now gasping for breath is helped to his corner. Duane Thomas sitting in his corner. It should be at dandy in round 10. The 10th and final round of the Junior Middleweight Championship of Michigan. Dave Braxton on your left. Duane Thomas on your right. Thomas throwing wild punches. It has been a war. And I think if Dave Braxton can just stay out of the way, one of them may just fall down because they're too tired. Left hand uppercut to the body, then a left hook by Duane Thomas. Dave Braxton holding on.
Thomas giving it everything. He knows he needs the knockout.
Tommy Briscoe warns Dave Braxton about hitting on the break. Left hook landed just on the nose, but then a big right hand from Braxton. And Duane Thomas is hurt again.
Thomas holding on.
The left jab getting in there from Braxton. He's just holding Thomas off. Duane Thomas throwing wild punches. Just waiting for one of them to connect. I think that's all he feels he has, is a chance to get the big punch in there and knock Braxton out. And Braxton, fighting from the ropes, is connecting on Duane Thomas. Both fighters very weary.
Unfortunately, the footage cuts off here. I'm thinking this was recorded off a UHF channel and the signal got jacked up. But luckily, we still have the first 9.5 rounds. With these old fights, we have to be grateful of whatever footage we can get sometimes. Thomas was awarded a split decision, and the verdict was booed, as most in the audience felt that Braxton had outpointed him. You may have noticed that Thomas had the louder cheering section, and I'm sure you saw how the referee bailed him out a couple times. I've already made 2 separate videos on both of these boxers if you want to see more of their fights. Most of you hardcore fans from the 1980s already know how Duane Thomas's story turned out. He did win the WBC Junior Middleweight crown from John Mugabe, but lost it in his first offense. He was murdered at the age of 39. I'll leave the link to his story in the description box. I do have more footage on Braxton, which I'll link as well, and I touch a little bit on his backstory in that video. Hope you like to journey back in time to check out some old school Detroit fighters and a forgotten slugfest of the past.